Hey, folks. We are back this week, and let me just do a couple of things here, and just want to bring up that some of you may have noticed, some of you may not have noticed, or have some preconceived notions, but MeteorJS is not what you used to think it was. Is that right? Is that what I was trying to say? I think that's what I was trying to say. So hang on one second here, and I still didn't. Nope, that's not the thing I wanted to do, but that's what it's allowing me to do. So hey, folks, we're back at this again, and MeteorJS is not your father's web development platform, and we're gonna talk about the 5 different ways that Meteor is not what you might think MeteorJS is today because of what you knew it to be yesterday. And I know that sounds a little confusing, but we'll get there. But in any case, you know what? This is episode 99 of This Week in MeteorJS, a weekly newscast of the MeteorJS Dispatches podcast. And let me put this back where I was supposed to be before. My name's Alim Gafar, streaming to you live from New York City. And with me is...
Hello, everybody. My name is Dvorak, aka Storyteller, coming to you live from Prague, Czechia.
And with that, we're going to get started with the news. Now, I know in the past we've brought up Harry Adele. I'm gonna make the screen a little larger here, right? And Harry Adele has done a number of different things, including a tutorial. He did an interview, and I don't know if it was a week ago or a few weeks ago, I discovered, and I say discovered, he'd been doing it for a while. He has a dev diary, a blog that he keeps about the work that he's doing. And it's got wonderful little nuggets, and I mentioned one of them. Well, Harry noticed that I mentioned this and talked about it recently and posted in the MeteorJS forums that I had finally discovered this blog, and he wanted to make sure that other people knew about it because, you know, perhaps they may have missed it also, as I did. And so now that I've discovered the secret blog and he has shared it in the forums, he also decided to share some of his most recent work in his number 19 entry, which is titled GraphQL Package Upgrades, Graph Improvements, and 3.4 Prep. So it's a short read with good links to the details that he is talking about in it. So I would say go give it a check it out, read it. Jan, have you been reading his blog, or did you know about his blog?
Barely knew about it.
Okay.
It's also because he posts once in a while. So I remember when you've mentioned it, I've checked it out this time. And I think that's also kind of a bit of a reminder for me that I should start doing something similar again.
Sure. Yeah.
I used to do that with my newsletters, but I stopped a while ago because I just was too overwhelmed.
Yes.
Just wasn't enough time because I also rammed all the other things and all the news that I was pretty much putting, and I've kind of redirected to these episodes to do all the news. So yeah. I'll have to figure out how to better manage these things. Maybe some AI agent or something that will allow me to kind of aggregate all the different things and ideas for that. So I'll have to figure out something, and
I'm trying to do my own on Substack, and the problem is workflow. It's, what do I want to talk about? How do I want to say it? And then how do I get it together and get it out there? And it's a commitment. And when you have other things on your plate, it's hard to meet that commitment. Some people do it really well. I would love to hear any shortcuts folks have. Somebody told me just write the effing thing and worry about like fixing it up later on as you get more and more pieces out. So that's probably good advice too. But yeah.
Well, I'm kind of building something like Patreon, Substack into Literal Universe.
Okay.
And I'll just have to figure out, because one of the things is that since it's GraphQL, I should be able to output it to my website as well as I want to, but I have to figure out when it comes to subscribers and all that stuff. So speaking of figuring things out,
Yeah.
there is a news from the Remix team,
Okay.
and while back we've covered that for Remix version 3 they will go with Preact, and
Mhm.
now they've put out that not even Preact is good enough for them, and that they need to kind of start from scratch to create a new front end something to fulfill their needs, which I think is very interesting. On one side, I think, okay, guys, I think you might be getting a bit over your head here, a
Mm.
little bit. On the other side, I'm kind of curious, what the heck are they thinking about, and that they need completely something new that is not out there, that they cannot, that they have to spend the resources and time to develop, instead of kind of integrating something that's already out there. So definitely it's going to be interesting to watch what is going to come out of it. And if you don't remember, Remix, or what was originally supposed to be Remix version 3, became the latest React router. And they decided to Remix is going to be something completely different. So that's where this kind of comes from.
I want to give a shout out to all the folks that are in the chat right now. I see Jans and Dimitri's and others over there. So, hey guys, it's good to see you. I'm expecting that I'll probably see Simon sometime soon here. And I do want to say that I really miss our other Jan, who's used to sit here with us. It's good to see that he's in the chat. I'm happy, and I'm hoping that maybe he'll show up as a guest sometime soon, so that we could have the banter that we always seem to have on this. So one question I have to you, Jan, with regard to the Preact stuff, is, I guess the impression I'm getting from this is, I've gone on a little bit of a React rant recently, and you may remember, I don't know,
Yeah.
I was very subtle about it.
I have my own strong opinions about React as well. So.
Is this sort of an adjacent thing where we're kind of highlighting that we're not the only framework that might be a little frustrated with the React? And by the way, I have a React story to talk about coming up soon with this in regard to Vercel. So hold your pants. But is this sort of like, we've been talking about this, but we're not the only ones that, this is an example of, we're not the only ones that are having this experience, that maybe we need to look a little deeper into what we need versus what React needs?
Yeah, I think this story kind of highlights, well, there's many layers, but I think first of all that, with Remix, with the next version of Remix, they are trying, I would, at least the feeling I'm getting from it is going to be something, I would want to kind of use the word experimental, or something that's out there, or at least the creators are thinking that it's out there, that nothing that currently exists can fulfill the needs that they want, which may be a hubris in a way, or who knows, but at the end of the day, they have quite a successful packages behind them, so we shall see. And I think definitely, for the original, when we've covered it, React, or them moving from React to Preact, was that they needed something that's more lightweight, and and faster to load and all that stuff, which as it usually is the history with all successful packages, they get a bit more bloated and heavier over the years, unless they very strictly focus on for that not to happen.
Well, if you remember, going back a couple of years, the first remix story that we talked about was with regard to an essay that somebody had written, where they inherited MeteorJS codebase and thought that this was just a mess, that it was not maintainable and not growable in a way, right? And they decided to migrate over to Remix, which they had a relationship with. So I think it was the tool that they understood, that they knew, the CTO of that company that made that decision. But and truth be told, Meteor was stagnant at that point. MeteorJS was not growing at the level that it is growing now, and in the direction that it's growing now, which is one of the other things, by the way, that I want to point out, that it's not your father's MeteorJS anymore. This ain't 2012, baby. It's 2025. You know, that's my take on that. Well, look, I think we're going to see this story over and over and over again in different iterations on different platforms, on different frameworks. It's not going to be the only time, but talking about change and talking about things that are not the way they used to be. Do you remember the good old days when GitHub was, GitHub was an open source project?
I don't think they ever were open source, but
I think they were. I think they were. Yeah, at one time. Then they got acquired, right? Anyway, here's the thing. The CEO of GitHub has recently resigned, and you shared this with me, and I looked it over, and I got to tell you, the essay that is written, where it's his goodbye state, and the reason that we should care about this, by the way, is that most of us use GitHub. Our code is there, it lives there, we use the tools, so it's going to have an impact on us one way or the other. What happens next? And so he's resigning, and partly because GitHub is being folded. It was used to be run independently. We don't really know what that means. We don't work there. We have no idea what the relationship is with Microsoft. So, by the way, that's the other part that I didn't just say, right? That Microsoft acquired them. Or did I say that before?
No.
Doesn't matter. Microsoft acquired them, right? They're the, 800-pound gorilla in the room. They move markets, just by farting, so that's one of the things that we had to think about. Anyway, they promised to leave GitHub alone and let them run their business the way they ran it. And they've been doing pretty good. And yeah, they had to incorporate Microsoft products here and there, like like Copilot, and they did. But now the story is that GitHub is being folded into the Microsoft AI division. And the CEO is resigning. And it seems very coincidental that his resignation is happening at the same time that they're rolling it into this other part of the company. It's almost as if we don't need an independent thinker, if there was one. But when I read this essay, I got to tell you that, he talks about like moving on, wanting to, he feels like he's got the entrepreneurial urge again. And I think the entrepreneurial urge comes from being fired, possibly, because that typically happens to many of us, that when we got the boot in the butt, all of a sudden we're looking for things to do. So, but he doesn't really talk about what he's going to do next. So typically when somebody has that urge, they've got an idea and they share it with you, but he doesn't. He just lists out sort of GitHub's greatest hits. It has all the feel of a press release that was written at gunpoint by a shell-shocked hostage. That's kind of like how it feels when I'm looking at this thing. But then I also think it kind of like sounds like maybe Copilot might have written it. You were privately asking me, do you think that GitHub is just going to become AI over time? I think it might have already gone that route. And I wonder, and it's got like, he signs off with goodbye and thanks for all the fish, which is a title from a Doug Adams novel from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy trilogy, right? I'm a little tired of these tech bros like trying to be semi-sophisticated in terms of literary references. We have Peter Thiel that the only thing that he knows is Lord of the Rings. Like he doesn't know anything else, and then just pop business things. And now we've got this, and I think maybe he might actually be a lot more knowledgeable with regard to literary references, but it sounds like the way that an AI would sign off on a document. So anyway, if you guys want to read it, give it a go. We have a link to it over there. Tell me what you think your thoughts are with regard to that.
Yeah, I think like kind of the biggest worry, and not just that GitHub is just going to become an AI tool to create code over the time. There's a big worry from other developers that I've kind of watched commenting on this, that it's kind of going to lose the thing that made GitHub, which is the collaboration or the open source. Because one of the big thing is that people are increasingly more worried that that Microsoft is going to go in with Copilot and all that stuff and read the code, or kind of feed the code into the algorithm, and learn on that.
How do we know that they haven't done that already, though?
I think they already did, and that's why some people, especially like the people who are like even more conscious and or say more on edge about this, have kind of moving out. And I think that this might potentially also be an accelerant of kind of people moving more into the kind of their private repositories and everything, which is another side effect of AI, that people will want to be more secretive with their code.
Yeah.
So I think that's very interesting, especially with all the things that we have hitting on open source. So again, bit of my
accelerant, and I'm thinking gasoline.
Yeah. So I think it's going to be interesting, but either way, like if people kind of start moving into their own privately hosted, GitLabs or other services, one of the big things that also, or that really makes open source really go forward, is that that network effect, that everybody is on GitHub, everybody communicates on GitHub, and if you have to go for different projects to different places, then that just becomes more of a hassle. Every day I'm on GitHub. Like, I think it's the first thing in the morning is I open GitHub, check my notification, then I open the Meteor forums very often. So that's kind of how my day begins. So that if that goes, or I have to kind of check 10 more websites, I'm just going to be like, screw it. I'm just going to kind of go back and kind of be on my sandcastle.
It is, yeah. Well, I mean, we could always go back to SourceForge.
Well, I think this is definitely something that people should watch, because this will, the changes that I think Microsoft or that will be happening at GitHub is going to be really determining on
well, the two others that never
future quite, as well.
The two others that never quite got as big were GitLab and GitLab and Bitbucket, and they're still around. I guess it'd be nice to see a matrix evaluation on the pros and the cons of hosting on each of these platforms, and seeing what people say. Or what you could do is you could just host your own repos, right?
Yeah, and I just want to kind of last point before we move on.
Yeah,
I have some insight into GitHub. I have some communication with the team. The team, because of how many things or repositories I have and help maintain in the open source realm. And one of the things that they said, they still are allowed to, or at least before this news, they are still, they still are allowed to have Macs and everything, and which was like very surprised when somebody from Microsoft actually came to visit them. Like, how are you allowed to have Macs if you are a Microsoft company? So that definitely, they were at least as far as last I had a big chat with them, they still had those things. So but speaking of people who left, in this case who left Meteor and created Apollo, they just released Apollo Client 4.0, which I would say quite a few Meteor projects still use as well. So that's important to note. It's a major release. I would say there's a lot of reshuffling between packages and what function is in what package. They added more SSR support, and interesting that they what they ship is pre-compiled with React compiler for better performance. So that's a interesting I would say twist on that. So, and this follows, there was a month or two back also new version of Apollo server, but there isn't any super huge big change. Nothing like overly sexy, just really nice incremental improvement, and some annoyance on the upgrade because of how they constantly trying to figure out what should be where, and the classic, how should we name things.
It's always a problem, isn't it?
Yep.
Well, I've been putting some of the chat stuff up recently. There's a lot going on in the chat. It's like they're having a party by themselves. What? Hang on one second here. Let me just pop something up here. So this is with regard to the last story we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
GitLab is a great copycat. What does Dimitri say again? GitHub can be self-hosted. I remember I believe so too. And love insights, sweet gossip. I think this is with regard to what you're covering now. Oh no, I think it's because of your back channel to
yes. Well, it's not necessarily, I would say, back channel. It's just once you get some
once you get them drunk.
No, I would say, again, it's the main thing is thanks to Meteor community packages, the amount of open source and my contribution to Meteor kind of put them on radar, and I was just I would say kind of watchful when they were like sending invitation to some events. I responded, and then that got the ball rolling.
No, look, it's wonderful that you're having that discussion, but I think the snarky stuff is fun too.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick on to this React point. We have an essay that was written by what is his name? Lee Robinson. He's a former Vercel Next.js DevRel who is leaving or has left Vercel, and he decided to put down some of his thoughts about the community and where things were going. I'm not going to spend too much time on it other than, is it possible for us to also link in that other, it's probably too late, that other essay that that you had pointed out to me, which is on Discord. Let me pull that up. So, all right. I'll give the background while we get this other essay up. So he's leaving, and he talks about his reflections on his time over at Vercel and what it meant to run the community and how it's been. It's been there for over 10 years, and there were some really good things. And he talks about community being hard, and that's true. And listening to feedback, but it's really sort of centered around their latest, I want to call it a fiasco because I think that's what it is. Their latest efforts with regard to, kind of pushing and stuffing down your throat this concept of React server components. And the reason I say that is because for, MeteorJS used to be listed in their Jan, correct me on this.
I don't think it was ever listed, but once the list was but it was like years ago. Felipe has created a pull request to list it, and they, at the time, that was only like Next.js, and they kind of didn't know what were the criteria to list it, and eventually they rejected it because Meteor did not support server-side rendering.
That's right.
Server components.
That's right. So that's what it comes down to, which is, I guess React has an ambition to be a full stack solution. I don't want to say it's a full stack framework, but a full stack solution. And they want you to adopt all of their stack in order to get listed on this list. And it's a little distasteful, right? So the view that Lee Robinson has, and the argument that he makes is that this is something that the React team wanted to do. It would have been really nice to have benevolent dictator. They just kind of want to dictate the direction of it. Their claim, and it had nothing to do with Vercel. Vercel was just there and willing to help out, and willing to do the first implementation of it. But it's meant for everybody. But that's who they went with. And he's trying to say that React has been for the benefit of everyone with no corporate, um, no corporate, like direct corporate beneficiary. It's a real open source project versus a commercial open source project. And I call bullshit on that. I don't believe that for a minute. When React came out, it was a solution that Facebook came up with to solve their problem. And then they offered it out to say, hey, if you've got similar problems, this is how we solved it, by the way. And then they really pounded the pavement on that. Facebook gave a lot of leeway to push this out there. Now, you mentioned network effects recently, and that's one of the things, that's one of the terms I was looking for when I was thinking about this. One of the things he says in this is that, it's been adopted because it's a great solution. And I don't buy that either. It's one of those things when you're the game in town and everybody else is using it. If you don't know how to use it, you're going to learn or you're going to be unemployed. And so it's not necessarily the best thing. In the same way that many people say that there are better operating systems than Windows, than Microsoft Windows, but you know what? They were the most prevalent deployed operating system in the world. And if you couldn't build applications for it, you might not get a job. World has changed a bit, but for about almost 20 years, that was the reality of the world. So I don't buy what he's selling. I find the essay to actually be a bit rambling all over the place. It's not well thought out to me. I did look up this guy a little bit more, and I think he's well intentioned. I think he believes what he's writing, but it's all over the place, and I don't think it's that great. Now there is this other essay.
This one
we were talking about. Yeah. So let me just I need to pull it up so I can see it too. Right. So give me 1 second here, so that I can do that. And
put that.
And that
this one that's Jan, the other Jan shared it. So
yeah, that's in the general, right? So
all
right, let me pull it up and pull it. So there is another blog that Jan Küster had shared that is titled, and it's from this guy Dominic. I don't know Dominic's last name. Do we have it? Dominic Mecca.
Yeah.
And Dominic writes, Next.js is infuriating. He doesn't write a lot, but this is what he's written. And he says, hey, it's finally happened. I decided to write a blog post. And if you're reading this, I've also finished one. I wanted to do this for a long time, but could never get the motivation to start. But you know what they say? Anger is the best motivator. They do say that, right?
Yeah.
So he goes through an entire journey of some experience of working with Next.js and trying to get logging data, and really being frustrating that he can't get adequate production logging data. He's got to go through a lot of different hoops, and it's worth reading. But one of the things that really stood out to me more than anything was the section where, he writes, what is this called? Hang on. And so here we go. It's I'll give you some of the subtitles. Paging the local mental institution, right? So he's trying to write some code to find some data. He was told that he could find this data, and then it doesn't actually operate that way. It says, congratulations, you're being coddled. Please do not resist, right? So that's sort of the way that you're being treated. And then he says, Vercel could do better. And then one of the key one that really stands out to me, the subtitle is, scientists discover a new supermassive black hole at https //github.com/Vercel/Next.js/issues. So in the essay before that we're talking about, we have the dev relations guy who says, we're trying to manage this really large community that we grew, and we're responding to them and so on. And he writes, if you go and you take a look at the issues, you will find that people post issues there that gets no replies, that have been ignored for over 2 years. And he himself posted a couple and has gotten no feedback whatsoever. This guy is the community. And the community DevRel manager is basically saying people like this is just, they don't get it. They don't understand what's going on. They don't realize the vision. And they really don't want to talk to them. Read these two essays. It's worth looking at comparing and contrasting the corporate view of how they see the world, and then this guy. But I also think this is really, really helpful for folks at Meteor Software to look at both of these essays and reflect on making sure that they don't fall into the Vercel well. And that's what I have to say about this.
Yeah, I just in regards to the issue, if you have to have a valid bug report for Nest.js, you have to have a minimal reproduction as well. So
he does write in his that he put in minimal reproductions, right? So that's exactly not the issue there. So one of the things that can happen, like a DevRel can go through, and they can look at the issues, and if there isn't a well-formed bug report, then write back, respond to the poster that we cannot act on this because it's missing these items. Here's the template. Please make sure you fill it out properly before you go forward with this, before we can go forward with this. I think when you leave things hanging, people in the community feel like they're ignored and not listened to, and they get pissed off. And I know it's really hard when you have a large community. Like, you have to triage, you have to figure out who you can respond to. But you know what? Don't go blowing your horn saying I built a fucking community of 100,000 people when, what's really happening is people are coming into that community because there's a gravity well pulling them there. You had nothing to do with it. You just happen to be sitting on a trend. Your job is to then manage that trend to make sure that there's not a lot of leakage coming out. And I really feel strongly about it. I'm not saying that I do this well at all. I think a lot of us fall flat on this, but that should be the goal. Don't toot your horn, and don't say that you get frustrated, because that's the nature of the game, brother. You're going to get frustrated. It is going to be frustrating. That's just how it is. There are always going to be competing ideas. And if you're in a project where you have none of that, you either have a really small, like-minded community. And if you're with a bunch of like-minded people, you're not going to get a lot of creativity. My own view. Again, you don't have to cop to this, Jan. I'm being rather aggressive in my opinion here, but I've been pretty timid over the years and just kind of like held my tongue. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm going to say it the way I think it is. And I know I'm not always right. I don't expect to be right. I hope people will educate me and tell me why I'm wrong and help me improve my thinking. But, I've shared with you my thinking on this and the reasoning behind it. So, do you have some feedback as to which side that you might swing with, or do you see both sides? What's your feeling here?
So from my view, as a community manager, especially what we did, for example, in the community packages, we gave an automatic or put automatic response on all the repos that hey, thank you for reporting the issue. We are understaffed. Please make sure that everything is in order for us, and apologies if it takes a while to get around to you. That's one thing. During my time with Meteor, that was one of my functions, was to respond to every new issue that came through. Ask for additional information, categorize it, sometimes even make a minimal reproduction for them instead of them having to do that, so that I could kind of try out to see where the issue is, and maybe kind of get ahead of fixing it quickly if it's some quick fix. So it's tiresome, it's manageable, and that kind of also gets me maybe the community and the amount of reporting is maybe too much, and that they need to hire more people for it, or they've gotten to a point where and I doubt it, because in the end it's technical, so there's limited scope and a lot of people don't report things. They've gotten to the scope of the big social networks where it doesn't matter how many people you hire, it's just too many people to manage, and in that case it might be better just to disable issue reporting altogether.
Well, he doesn't say the person. I'm sorry. Why am I having a brain fart right now? Lee Robinson doesn't say how many people were on the team, whether it's just him or whatever. By the way, if it's just him, and they're crowing that they got to 200 million in annual monthly recurring revenue, right? Is it annual or monthly? I forget which. It might be annual recurring revenue. Anyway, 200 million is a lot of money. And if with 200 million they can only have one guy doing this, yeah, that to me is not like benevolence in any way, right? That to me is not, beneficence in any way. That to me is just like, well, we're making money, and the community management part is an afterthought. If they did have a good sized team, there are a number of different solutions that they could come up with, and maybe he didn't share them. Maybe they do have them, and maybe they did implement them. But it would be a great follow-up, Lee, if you were to actually write something that kind of talks about the different mechanisms that you used in order to try to manage and assist this community in understanding the direction that Next and React was taking with React. But without that information and without that context, again, as I said before, I just thought that it was a poorly written write-up in terms of trying to get me to ride along with it. It's it's a little over here, it's a little over here. It's not well pulled together, and it might have been written under a lot of stress and emotion. And I understand that. I'm not saying this guy's a bad guy or he is incapable of communicating effectively. I think he probably is, but this particular piece is not convincing. As a matter of fact, it smells of justification, and so I'm really turned off by it.
Yeah. Last thing I kind of want to put on this, in general, like the community management and technical sphere is still a relatively new field that people are trying to figure out, and usually it's people who are also developers. And I think one extreme is or the Linux community management in the kernel, which is both, I would say, funny and at the same time sad. But let's move to the future and what the future is to bring. And this one, especially, I think, is something that we should be paying attention. There is no proposal for MCP, MCP standing for Model Context Protocol, which was, or the MCP originally, that's from Anthropic, and it's kind of how the AI tools should be communicating with tools. And this proposal by the Google and Microsoft teams is how adding it to the web pages, as the name stands there. And the Microsoft Edge team is building already a prototype of this. So this is an official W3C proposal, and it pretty much, it will be that an AI agent can come to your site, see all the web MCP functions that they can run, and so that then the user can, for example, on To-Do app, say, okay, I want you to add these to-dos, and kind of put a list, and then the AI agent will go onto your To-Do app and add those to-dos there, and it can then also do other operation based on what you put into the web MCP. So it's kind of like methods for or Meteor methods for the AI, which I think it's in general, I kind of like that idea, because I think it's better to provide the AI a clear function rather than an AI agent trying to navigate the web page and do things that are primarily for humans. And I think it could kind of provide more of an issue if it's try to actually manually go into the forms and constantly kind of perform the action, instead of kind of going through this method, which will be in the background, so more optimized. It wouldn't probably eat that many resources as compared as having to constantly go through the form and having to render that. So I think it's interesting, and I'm kind of curious how that's going to evolve.
I don't, I got to say, I've not kept up with MCPs, the what do they call, Model Context Protocol?
Yeah.
What's going on there? It's changed, and it's been growing a lot. And my understanding was that this was a way for your agents to talk to other agents to have actions. But my question is weren't we enabling the web through APIs to do this kind of thing in the first place? Why do we need new infrastructure now? Is it just for new infrastructure companies to make more money building stuff? I'm
Well, the
what do you
MCP,
get?
yeah. So the original MCP is not just to talk between the agent. It's actually more to talk to the tools. So that's why Claude and their models are much better at talking with the tools, because they kind of started this trend and evolved it. So you just add a link to an MCP server, so for example with Figma, and then I can just add in the tool, hey, this is the Figma link. This is where my design is. Now implement the page, and then through the MCP, the tool can go into the Figma and kind of see the design and all the details and kind of work with it, and then do some other things. This is, I would say, maybe a lesser version of MCP itself. And from what I see it's kind of it can potentially be used to describe the API that's publicly available. But also at the same time, with API, there's a lot of other, how do you manage your keys and all that stuff? While this one it will go to the page. If the user is signed up, it will have the credentials for that user, and it will be able then to perform kind of the actions that you allow it to perform.
Can I ask you, if I'm a web owner and I've put a lot of effort into building my website and putting that all together, what's the incentive for me to allow for this? I mean, my whole thing is like I get traffic. Maybe I monetize that traffic somehow. Like, why am I spending my effort, my time to build these things out if nobody's coming, just bots? Because advertisers don't care about bots. They care about people.
So I think this will depend, and you put a good point on the use case of the page, and where they're potentially getting traffic. So for Litter Universe, I would be using Web MCP to get some of the, I would say, initial tasks in the workshop sorted out, but it would be very limited. So for example, when it comes to the reading and everything, there could be, for example, I would be looking at what other tools am I integrating it, and for me another big part of this would be to make this more discoverable through the AI tools. So for me, if there was like, if you have Web MCP on the page, then it's more likely that you are going to appear in recommendations from the AI and so on. Then that's definitely going to be another thing for me. Would be the number of users. So I'll maybe can make it more easier to register a user through this, but probably not, because this is especially something that I want to prevent AI from having. So it will be very, very selective. One way how it was demonstrated in the video, which was the To-Do app, it was you were like in a, they were in Cursor, and the command was, find me all to-dos and put it into my To-Do app via Web MCP. So
I see the only people making money here are the people that are building these AI tools, because all the upstream stuff that you're getting the value from, you're not going to get anything. And my feeling is that it's these tools that are going to have monopolies, that are going to force a poor payment structure on the folks that are sourcing it, just like we have with music today, and with the copyright stuff that is getting absorbed. So I'm not sure how this all plays out, and to be honest with you, it's there's some good, there's some real benefit. When I first saw the MCP discussions, the first thing it made me think of was that this is like what is that, Make, or what's the other one? Trying to remember what it was called, but but basically the tool that allows you to, chain together a bunch of different actions on different sites and other tools and create workflows. What's the famous one called? I keep forgetting it now.
I don't know. I think, like, for me also, like, another thing is, because with the MCP servers, you have to kind of build that out entirely. I think with these web MCPs, I can pretty much, it might be like a light version of that I can hook into my already existing Meteor methods.
Yeah.
And
Zapier is what I was thinking about. Yeah, I was thinking about Zapier.
Yes.
Right. So this is, Zapier was on this path already. We had Make, we had Power Automate, N8N, and they're all trying to automate workflows across a number of different disparate services, right? And you kind of like write your own branching logic and so on. I think, to me, the NCP is just an extension of that to some degree. But it's, my question is that, it's really in a way more of an evolution than revolution, if you're thinking about it that way. But again, because these LLMs use intellectual products, and now what you're doing is you're inviting them in to kind of like, yeah, you are giving it an API interface to come into your app. To me, there's a big question as to, when you've got like 30 different services that you're planning on using to build out your workflow. And I think Jan may have said something over here. We'll get to paid MCP, but are you going to pay for 30 different services? Is that your intention? Like, how is that going to work out? I think what's going to happen is that MCP service that you're using is going to basically, hide everything else in terms of cost and so on, give you one billing point, which will be the easiest thing to do. And then they're going to negotiate the prices with all the other contributors. And you're going to have to take whatever they give you if you want to play in there, or they're going to find an alternative. I don't mean to sound negative. I don't see the upside, for the individual services. I see the upside for the end user, and I see, the guy that's capturing all the value is going to be the MCP creator. Maybe that's the business that everybody.
Well, you with MCP, you as the website owner are the creator. There is like no additional service or anything like that in between. So it's so the AI comes onto your website, or you have it open, and then you kind of can tell it, if because that's like another thing. Maybe people will get so lazy that they will tell AI to navigate and operate our website as well, so that this is where it's going to come to.
Right. But the thing is, you say the AI is going to come there, but who's operating the AI? It's an end user, right? And the end user wants to do something, so he's going to come to your site through the MCP server, because it's one step on many in a workflow, right? Otherwise, why not just go to the fucking site yourself, right? So the whole point is you want to automate something so you don't have to deal with it manually. Okay, and the typical thing is not to just automate one site, but automate a chain of events. And so, if that's the case, why am I doing this work to build something for human consumption that now a bot's going to come and take a look at? And I don't know that there's a financial upside for me even just servicing just the bot and saying, you know what, no humans are going to come here ever again, so I'm just going to give this to the bot. Like,
well, we have to also think, I think this might be most interesting in the corporate sphere, where there is BS tasks and BS jobs. So I think this might be part of replacing them, or might be helpful in that as well. But which is like another thing that I've heard interesting, and this is kind of last one because we have to move on. Idea is that, given how quickly AI evolves, there is enough time for it to kind of go into the industry and actually be fully utilized, because we are constantly, implementing the new model instead of implementing what the current model already can do.
I would just say be a little more humane when you're saying about BS jobs, because one person's BS job is somebody else's living. I mean, do you think your job as a developer is a BS job?
Depends. Sometimes I have BS tasks. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot that can be built that use the skills that you've developed and you've worked for over the years. And you think that's BS? I don't buy that, right?
Well, technology evolves in this, Alim. So we've
That's
talked about this a lot,
dude.
and
Yeah, I know. But all I have to say is, have some fucking compassion, because the thing is, one day it's going to be your job, and then you're going to be sitting there complaining about it. And then,
well, I think we already complained a lot about this on this channel. And that's all I can do about it. I can complain about it and everything, but it's not going to stop it. Just too many powerful
things
people
can
to
stop
stop
it. Things can stop it. First of all, the thing is, like, the market doesn't necessarily appear. It might be a great idea, but the fact is, like, it doesn't serve a human benefit. And that's something that gets forgotten from time to time when we get really excited and being fanboys about technology. We have to think about, who does it serve, right? Who is it meant for? Is it meant for a small group of people that can just get rich off it? Or is it meant for all of humanity to benefit from? So, I know what side of the camp I'm on, but, that's why I do things for free for others. So there you go. But anyway, we have some other thing. I mean, we could go down this path for hours, and I don't think that's productive. But can we talk about this post on forums from Adam Ginsberg? He talks about these caches. I don't know what we would call it necessarily, but I've titled it like caches crashing, and it's one of those things where he says that you can't seem to update the new code bundles. I don't really understand what this is about. Can you help me understand this?
So I am having trouble understanding it fully myself, but there is an issue with some users not getting the newest bundle and the cache not replacing. They have to kind of do the hard reload with emptying the cache to get the new one. I had this issue, or most often this issue comes up with service workers and the cache management with that. And I had this quite often with the Jam offline package that it can be too aggressive, especially in combination with service workers, so on. So
but he says that's not his issue, right?
Exactly. So that's it's still a big question mark. What exactly?
And then there was a
gone wrong
question
here?
as to, like, which cache to flush, right? The local storage. There was some other suggestion. There were the service workers. I'm really not understanding. I think the source of the problem, and then it seems that, by the way, we store a lot of things in a lot of different places. The platform does. So,
well,
it would be really nice to get some kind of insight into how does Meteor store, temporary information, right?
So yeah, I can give you some insight on that.
Sure, go ahead.
You have the bundle, which is stored in cache. That's where you have that's the JS files and all of that. And then you have the local storage. That's where things like the login information are stored, unless you do a setting the accounts package and then it's in a session session storage. But even then, things, for example, for Galaxy, like which container are you connected to, that's in the local storage as well for reconnection, all the purposes. And then of course you have Minimongo, which is and I am right now blanking on the name. Just give me a moment. I am going to open some web tools on some page somewhere, if it will let me. And that is in application. That will be, if I remember correctly, it's kind of on its own, but I think it might be in some subset of IndexedDB. But I'm not yet exactly certain of that. I still need to read the DDP article.
And then what does MongoDB? I'm sorry. What does MeteorJS use SQLite for?
That is used only for internal. I think a few internal things.
Is it used for any kind of state management?
No, not unless you build it yourself in your app. So and most of that would be, if anything, that would be on the server.
It's, again, as I said before, I think this can be a very good. It could be a very good presentation or a tutorial to see, the information lifecycle management within Meteor and where different things go. Because having either like a flow chart or some kind of a tool that allows you to visualize so that you can debug as you're going through would be very, very helpful for the person that's running into the issue in terms of something like this, and also for communicating to the team and others, excuse me, what you've checked, what you've looked, and what you've been able to eliminate, what you've been able to find. So this is one of those internals that could be really, really interesting for an impact talk if somebody's looking for an idea, and or an episode of TWIM to come in and sort of give us a little deeper dive.
All right, everybody. If you made it this far, don't forget to give us a like. It will help us in the AI algorithms and whatever black magic YouTube is doing in the background. And it will also help you recognize which episodes you have watched, so you don't accidentally watch them again.
Yeah, hang on a second. I gotta get the I gotta get the thing up. 1 second. I gotta put it back. No, what am I doing? I'm pressing wrong buttons. Give me 1 second here. All right. You are talking about this. There we go.
So it's lifetime. Press it down somewhere in here. And with that intro, we are definitely moving into the Meteor news of this week. And we do have quite an interesting set of news. First of all, we have a release, a Meteor 3.3.2 was released with primarily, fixes. That's what patch releases are for. So we start with accounts.urls are now async compatible. So that's where you set the links in emails properly. Then the find user by email method has been moved from accounts password to accounts base to kind of make more sense. So similar like with Apollo client, making some reshuffles in what is where. It's not that big of a deal, because if you have accounts password, you already have to have accounts base. So this was kind of to help out with if you have all out, and then also it includes the emails and everything else. Then there's also have been kind of a backward compatibility fix that insert ID on client upsert or to be returned to match the Meteor 2.x behavior. And of course, MongoDB and security fixes. So that has been the 3.3.2. And next, we also had a beta release of Meteor 3.4. This came out, just earlier today, so I had to kind of scramble to get this in. This is Meteor 3.4 is going to include deeper RSpec integration. That's what the initial two, at least the initial two betas will be focusing on. You can try out the beta already. And in addition to that, there is going to be addition of debug-only packages, which will help shrink the bundles and can remove all the development packages on the production. So it will still be able to build with that, but then the final bundle will not include that package unless it's needed. And then after all of these things are in, then we'll get other pull requests that have been patiently waiting for inclusion, and there's quite a few. So Meteor 3.4 is going to be quite, I would say, exciting release, and we'll cover all of that's coming in the future episodes. And from the community, the Mongo collection instances package is getting deprecated. There has been a 1.0 release, and right next to that we had a patch release, which was for deprecation. I will actually, after this is finished, I will go and archive this repository. And the main reason is that the functionality of this package is included in core. It was for a while, so we've improved this. Version 1 allows you to migrate to Meteor 3 if you still rely on this, but we have dimensions of the function that you're looking for, so you can upgrade to the core, how it's supposed to be used. And finally, we have some updates on Meteor Impact. We have some new talks as well. We are almost finished with the schedule. I want to primarily have a shout out for Mike King, who is coming back representing Australia in the talks, and he'll be talking about a new approach to integration testing and talking about the tool that they have been using it, especially since they've been not so happy with Mocha. And we do have also another talk from Italo, who is we talk about contributing to MeteorJS and using that for career growth. And that's all I can announce at this point. The keynote will be delivered by Meteor Software, so stay tuned for that. We'll have all the juicy news on that next time.
It's a lot. Give me a second here. I'm responding in the chat to the folks that are there. Okay, so yeah, we do want people to subscribe to the channel. If you've been following along and you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, we appreciate you doing so. Just hit the subscribe button, and you'll be apprised as to when the next episodes are coming and what's in the hopper. And with that, can we switch over now to a short discussion we talked about earlier?
Yes, I have the slides.
Yeah.
Wait, there we go.
Yeah, we talked a little bit earlier about when I opened this up about the 5 things that make MeteorJS different in 2025. Now, I really want this to be sort of a play along with us type of thing. These are my opinions and Jan's opinions about what makes modern MeteorJS different than your daddy's MeteorJS, right? The Meteor from 2020 to 2016, 2017. And so let me just kind of walk through some of the things that I believe make them stand out. First of all, one of the things I think that makes Meteor today much different than Meteor even about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, the 2 series, is moving away from fibers and getting into async await. And you might ask, well, why is that? That's just a technical thing. Well, yes and no. First of all, yes, it is a technical change, and actually it's a change in the way we deal with, synchronous programming and synchronous handling of our requests. But really the big change is we move from something that was really a core Meteor way of handling these types of events to something that is now in the Node.js mainstream. So we've really gone from having this core capability that was central to the reactive behavior of the platform that people outside the MeteorJS community never really encountered, and we've gone to doing this in a way that fits what everybody else in the MeteorJS community, in the Node.js community is used to. And so it makes it more likely that if you are building reactive applications in Node.js, you could take that skill set, come to MeteorJS, and be productive there without having to have the mental overhead of learning something new. So do you have a thought on that? What do you think about me saying that, Jan?
Yeah, I think that's fine. I have nothing really to add to that.
Yeah. And related to that, my second item was that there is no longer an artificial node limit on a node version limit on MeteorJS. So for a while, what were we on? 14?
Yeah, for a long
terminal version. For a very long time, we couldn't do anything beyond version 14. So we couldn't take advantage of 16, 18, 20, and now we're at 24, right? 22, 24. We couldn't take advantage of any of those new features and new capabilities because we were stuck. And again, that goes back to fibers, being able to support fibers. Fiber support was not something that was going to follow past that. And so we were stuck maintaining, a deprecated version of Node.js and living with it and, dealing with all those things. So to me, that's another thing that's much different than the old platform. We can stay current with Node.js because we don't have an artificial constraint holding us back. I shouldn't say an artificial constraint, a constraint holding us back. Let me just say it that way. So I think those are a couple of things. They're related, but do you think that's a legitimate point to make?
Yeah, it has been an issue for quite a while, but at the same time, that's there's no artificial version limit from the development perspective.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it still remains that you don't really worry about Node version unless you are using something from Node, because it's still constrained to the specific release. So the benefits of that still stay the same.
Yeah. So the thing here is, if you're a developer and you were worried in the past that your skills as a Node.js developer would be stunted at 14, that's not the case anymore. So that's, again, I think a big difference between the old MeteorJS versus the new MeteorJS environment. And Jan, you want to drop one of yours in before I do my last one? It's
Yeah, so I'll do number 4 before we go to that, which is that we have, the account system is getting constantly improved, and I think that's, even though that kind of it got a long pause, but now it's beginning, and you will see some additions in that regard in 3.4. But we also recently saw the roles integration into the core, so there is definitely kind of move this key killer feature of Meteor back to the forefront and to evolve it, which, especially given how there has been this sassification of all the different parts to build your website, including user management, which seems absolutely ludicrous to me. And I think that people will kind of see, or kind of will want eventually in the future, more control of their users and everything.
Is that driven by WebAuthn?
Not necessarily WebAuthn, but generally OAuth, and generally there's especially once you go to the corporate level, there are some really annoying authentication systems that the big corporations use. So a lot of the smaller companies, especially that don't want to deal with that, choose to go with a SaaS solution that can most of the times handle it. Plus, there was for a long time, and I think still persists to a certain degree, there's this SaaS hype that just put everything into SaaS, just outsource everything, and then just do an API calls, which kind of seems very, very strange to me. That you kind of put all the sometimes very critical parts of your website to some other services, and then you pay for the privilege to have access to your users or something similar.
That's a great business model, I got to tell you. Handling outsourced authentication. It's
it's part of that. It's not easy, and we do have some issues. But I think we'll see more improvement, and it's already improving, and it kind of also kind of goes into my last point. But I'll have you take your.
Yeah. I'll let you take the last on this. So I think one of the cool things that is happening, and it's always been central, the whole build chain in MeteorJS is one of the differentiators in it, but it's also very limiting. And it seems that with modern Meteor, we now have better decoupling. We're able to add in a sort of a drop-in way, modern bundler support for Vite and RS Pack, other things right now. So am I misstating this? Because that's my impression, but
Yeah, I think that kind of also follows a bit more of a trend of opening up
Hmm.
a Meteor that started with inclusion of React and all the fiasco around that, or the controversy.
Yeah.
Uh, Especially 3.3 and 3.4 are very strongly towards that. So I think kind of
Yeah.
going into the future, what kind of this signals is that it will be much more easier to kind of drag and drop, or drop and replace
Yeah.
parts of kind of say core meters, so that we can optimize it
Yeah,
for
for
the
your own solutions, right? It makes it a lot more customizable for your needs. Um, and I think there's good in both. Well, here's the thing: like having a default setup is great because you don't have to think about it. But if it doesn't work for you, or if it's not efficient enough, or you don't think that that is the best solution, being able to go in and swap it out with something that you think is going to be better for your needs is tremendous support. And we didn't have that before, and now we do. And I think that is a great way to look at when you're looking at Meteor, to understand how much it has changed from the old Meteor JS. All right, I'm gonna leave the
yeah.
last one to you.
So last one I put was a steady development, which
Hmm.
is a uh, kind of overarching uh, statement or topic,
Sure.
which includes primarily that as relative compared to the past, very much well where the development is going if you at least a little bit follow the forums and
Right.
GitHub develop discussions and development. Uh, and also it's on the roadmap. It's very well outlined what the next few releases will be all about, and what will be kind of what's kind of the future beyond that, what are the priorities. And also if you follow our podcast and kind of watch, or just also the official newsletter, you are well aware of what's coming. How to kind of prepare for these changes. So again, if you pay a little bit, at least a little bit attention, you know that there's a steady development, you know that there's a plan, and you know what to do. What will come, and approximately when. So I think that that's a big change, because in the past there have been a lot of question marks about the future.
Yeah.
And I think at least now in the short and mid-term horizon, we kind of all know what's going to be happening development-wise, at least.
Yeah. So that sort of predictability, that insight into actually what's going on, that transparency, right? In
Mhm.
what's, at least for the near term, what MeteorJS's future is a lot better than in the past, where it was, is MDG going to continue working on this or not, right? What are they going to add? I think I think I agree with you with this, that is one of the key things that is very different. So for the folks in the chat and the folks out there, what are your thoughts on what's different about MeteorJS today? Put in the comments, let us know your thoughts, share them. We'd love to see how you think of modern JS, MeteorJS, how it's different than the MeteorJS of old. My gosh, I'm having a hard time using whole words today. So there we are. And is there anything else you want to cover today, or you want to push off this other thing until next week that we have?
We'll push that off next week. We've kind of gone over already time.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just want to add some quick reminders, as
Yep.
I do uh, every week. Don't forget, guys, there is the community survey. Again, everybody watching should have already filled this out, and you should be, pushing it out to any other Meteor developers that you know. So please, get it out there so that we have good data, and we have about 2 weeks, before I close it and start looking through it. So please spread the word. And once again, a reminder, don't forget to sign up for Impact. You can go to the website, and there's the sign up button. So please do that. The official sign up is on Luma, and everybody who will be sign up on there is going to get the link to the online version. If you don't sign up, you will have to kind of day off, do a bit more searching, and it's better if you do that, so that you get, you will be informed. So please do that.
Jan,
and that's it.
You're not going to be here next week, right?
Yes, I am off on a vacation.
Okay, so I think here's my thought on this, which is Impact is in 2 weeks, right?
Yep.
So hang on, let me get something where we can be in the same screen together. Impact's in 2 weeks. So my thought is maybe we'll do the 100th episode during.
Actually, sorry, Alim. If we want to be precise, so next week is my vacation. Then we have still week nothing, and then it's Impact. So 3 weeks.
Oh, 3
from
weeks.
Today.
Okay, because I was thinking that it would be really nice to do our 100th episode during Impact. But
yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's 2 weeks from now. Well, all right. We'll do the 100th episode when you come back, because doing it alone is going to be, not fun. Hopefully, Küster might be able to join us for the 100th. It would be nice if
he's looking into that. We'll see what his wife says.
Yeah, it'll be nice, even if it's just as a 20-minute guest appearance or whatever. I think it'd be great if we were able to do that. Dimitri was asking in the chat before if there's any celebration that we're going to do. Hadn't had anything planned yet. We would love some suggestions from you guys. Maybe there's something that we should talk about, some tomfoolery that we should engage with. I don't know. Give us your ideas, and let's see what we could do. But I'm going to take next week off also, since you're going to take it off. Running it alone for the 100th is not my idea of a fun time, and maybe we can come up with something good for the 100th. I thought that I had prepped for the 100th that we would be doing something related to running something related to Impact, which we said we were going to be doing all the way through this, and we kind of have been talking about Impact and trying to seed ideas for people to do. But I think we've talked a lot today. I think we've been on for a while, and I want to give you guys back your time. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being with us again this week. And 99 episodes. It's like, wow. Well, listen, guys, have a great weekend, and we'll see you again in a couple of weeks. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. All right. There we go. Wait, oh, shit. We're still live. I'm sorry. I started doing a